Hi, this is Dr. Barron, and welcome to From a Nurse to a Nurse. So our goal is simple. We want to give nurses the motivation and tips that they need at every stage of the nursing journey, from pre-nursing to nursing students to nurses working actively in the clinical setting, well as those who are working in academia. So let's get into it. These tips that I will provide today are primarily for my pre-nursing and nursing students because it is the beginning of the semester. And so this is an awesome time to just review some of the basics. So with that, the first thing I want to encourage you to do is just to learn your learning management system. So that may be Canvas, that may be Blackboard. Those are the primary ones that we use in our institution. My tripod is falling. That's great, isn't it? But back to it. Learn your learning management system, whatever that system may be. Now, what faculty tend to do, or what I tend to do, is to provide an overview of that system with my students during orientation. However, if you don't get that review of that system, make sure you take some time to learn that system for yourself. Because what can happen is, I've had students in the past to attempt to submit something or assume they have submitted something, and they may not always double check, and what tends to happen is that assignment is not submitted. And so if that assignment is not submitted, and then if we don't have proof of submission, because we know that, with technology things can happen, then you may not get the full credit you deserve. So just make sure you have a good understanding of your learning management system. The next tip I want to provide is just to review your syllabus. We as faculty use that. It serves as a contract for us between our students and faculty members. Now, typically you would think with the contract is something that you'll sign. In this case, it's not. But with the syllabus, what it does is it provides you with some key information that can set you up for success. It can provide you with information on how to, of course, the overview of what to expect in the course, the books that are required, how to contact your faculty member, that's ultimately important, the topical outline or the content that will be covered in the course when assignments are due, other policies such as the grading scale, the late assignment policy, the class attendance policy, the ODS policy, Office of Disability Services, that policy. And I'm speaking to experience from our syllabus within the institution in which I work. However, depending on your institution, that syllabus is still important. So just make sure you review it in detail. Again, the things I want you to pay particular attention to is but how to contact your faculty. That's ultimately important because some faculty may prefer to be contacted through the learning management system. Some faculty may prefer to be contacted via email. Some faculty will also give you an idea on when to expect a response. So that is important to know, so that you don't set yourself up for the expectation that you may get a quick response when in reality it may be 24 to 48 hours. So pay attention to that verbiage. Another thing to consider is when your assignments are due, just make sure you have a good way of tracking that. Now, the learning management system that we use, whenever we as faculty, or myself, I'm saying we, as faculty upload assignments into Blackboard, then it's going to it has a calendar within that system that provides you with when your assignments are due. However, if you want to increase your frequency of reminders, then I would encourage you to use some type of digital calendar system where you can create your own set of reminders to remind you when assignments are due. In the past, I've had students to say, hey, I knew it was this date, but in my calendar, I put this date. So just make sure to have some checks and balances in place on how to confirm and when to confirm when assignments are due. The other thing to consider is to know the late assignment policy as well as the class attendance policy. Now, even though the learning management system is online, it still works for students who are, and the nursing students who are in programs know this, but if you are a pre-nursing student and this is your first semester as a freshman, just know that usually that learning management system, it can serve both purposes, so online and in the classroom. So it is important to know the class attendance policy, what's the requirement, as well as the late assignment policy, because just know, depending on the faculty, the institution, there may be some language in there of what will happen if your assignment is late. And then there's also some language in there of what constitutes an excused absence versus an unexcused absence. And then if it is excused versus unexcused, there may be some documentation you may be required to submit. So that's another reason you need to review your syllabus. Now, the last thing I want to encourage you to do is to communicate with your faculty. We are there to support you. This is something I often remind my students of. We are your number one resource when it comes to the content. So don't feel like you cannot communicate with your faculty. I would encourage you to communicate at different points of the semester, especially if you have questions about the course, if you have questions about the content, if you have questions about your exam, your grades, all the different things. Communicate with your faculty member. One thing, as faculty, we will reach out to you if we notice that your assignment has been late, like a day or two. However, we also have the expectation that you are going to be professional, because if you are in college, then we are sure that the goal is to obtain this degree so you can work in a professional field. So this is the best time to increase that skill of communication, because you'll be communicating with your boss one day. So why not practice it now? Or you may be the boss someday. And so I will hope you would have that expectation for communication. Either way, whatever the case may be, please communicate with your faculty member. So that is the end of this video. Take from this video what you need. I hope you find it helpful. And until the next time, I will chat with you soon.